Recording, and we're ready to go. Keisha, it's showtime. Good evening. I'm Trudy Marotta, a volunteer community ambassador with AARP Virginia, and I want to welcome you to our Prepare to Care, Finding Answers, Support, and Resources for Caregivers, this webinar today or tonight, and thank you for joining us. AARP is striving to make it easier for older adults to live independently and remain in their homes and communities where they would prefer to be, surrounded by family and friends. By providing planning, resources, and additional forms of support to family caregivers, AARP hopes to create a country where people can continue to live in their homes and communities for as long as they choose. To help achieve this, AARP is supporting the millions of family caregivers who provide unpaid care to their loved ones with resources and tools, advocating for and providing better quality, affordable, and accessible services to help older people live independently and the family caregivers who help them. As I'm sure you know, I know, and Keisha knows, caregiving can be an all-consuming experience that leaves the caregiver exhausted and lonely, but it can also be an enormously meaningful accomplishment. Half of the caregivers feel that their roles give them a sense of purpose and meaning in life. Family and friends are the backbone of America's care system, providing the bulk of care for older adults in the U.S. as they strive to live independently. So we at AARP applaud you for deciding to spend time with us today to find answers, support, and resources to help you on your caregiving journey. In the reminder email for today's session, we included a link to download the slide presentation and a link to the resources page listing all the websites that we will share with you today. And if you didn't get that in a pre-email, it will be in a follow-up email for you as well. And now onto the program. I am thrilled to be joined today by Keisha Jackson. Like me, Keisha is also an AARP Virginia community ambassador, and we are so fortunate to have her on our team. Keisha is a retired Air Force veteran, creative writer, storyteller, family caregiver, and founder of Encouraging Stories LLC, an online multimedia hub that provides encouraging, entertaining, and educational content to family caregivers. So please give a warm welcome to Keisha Jackson. Keisha, it's all yours.
Thanks, Trudy. Hello, everyone, and good evening, and welcome to AARP's Prepare to Care, Creating a Plan. As Trudy mentioned, my name is Keisha Jackson, and I'm a Northern Virginia community outreach volunteer with AARP. And I look forward to facilitating today's conversation. Before we begin, I want to say, I know November is National Family Caregiver Appreciation Month. So to all our caregivers that are out there, I want to say personally, to share my appreciation for you and the hard work that you do. And as a veteran, it's also Veterans Day is next week. So to all of the veterans or those caregivers that may be caring for veterans, I extend my salute to you as well. As Trudy mentioned, I began my caregiver journey. I was caring for my mother. My mother was diagnosed with stage 4 inoperable lung cancer that had metastasized into her ribs. And she was living on her own. And she was in Philadelphia, and I wind up going to Philadelphia and bringing her to Virginia to live with me, to be her primary caregiver. And it was quite an experience. It was, although it was very difficult, it was such an honor to be able to provide that care to my mother. And 6 months after my mother passed, one of my brothers fell, and he was placed on life support. He had broken some ribs, he was hemorrhaging. And so I wound up, he was in Philadelphia, going back and forth to care for him for about 3 or 4 months while I was working. And I tell people at that same time, I was also caring for my diabetic dog. And so I've had, since then, that was a while ago, I've had several family members and friends that I've been either intimately involved with caregiving or long distance caregiving, or helping with the financial aspects of it, the cleaning, coordinating doctor's appointments. So I'm very, very much an advocate for caregiving. And again, with this being National Family Caregiver Appreciation, I really salute each and every one of you. So before we get into presentation, let's start by taking a poll.
And it looks like the numbers have slowed down, if not stopped, Keisha. It looks like about 75% of our audience tonight is caring for a parent. 13% are caring for a spouse or a partner, and another 13% are caring for a sibling.
Yeah. Yeah, and each of those areas is so important because the roles are different. You know, when you're caring for your parents, you kind of expect that, but sometimes you don't necessarily expect to care for your spouse, and especially not your children. So we hope something is said or done, or maybe even from your experience that you have with the others that are on the line, whether it's in Georgia, whether it's in Virginia, that you'll be able to share some of your experience, if you don't mind, to be able to help someone else. Tonight's discussion is all about supporting you and your loved ones. I invite you to share ideas, as I mentioned, and ask questions, and connect with other family caregivers, people just like you. Let's get started. Caring for a family member or close friend is one of the most important roles you play. It may start with driving your loved one to get groceries or going to the doctor. As time goes by, you may find yourself taking more time off from work, preparing meals, or handling bills. No matter where you are in your journey of family caregiving, just beginning to anticipate a need, helping to coordinate a big move, or taking care of a family member full-time, having a good framework to help guide both you and your loved one will make the process easier. During tonight's session, we will share a framework to help you make plans to care for family members, neighbors, and friends. And as the poll, your spouse, your parent, or maybe even others. You will often have opportunity to connect with You will also have opportunity to connect with other family caregivers, exchange tips and advice, and learn about resources available to you and your loved one. Let's start with me asking this. How many of you help a loved one with household tasks, such as cleaning, laundry, or yard work, or maybe help a loved one with medications? What about regularly cook or provide food for a loved one? What about those that are driving individuals to doctor's appointments, making shopping trips, or running errands? There are those that are providing personal care, such as bathing or dressing. There are individuals who help with the loved one's financial or pay their bills. There are people that are providing emotional support and companionship. Or what about communication with health professionals and coordinating healthcare? So this is for all of you who took the poll and said that you were a family caregiver, but maybe if we have those that are watching or that are participating tonight and you're not really sure if you're a caregiver, but based off of some of these things, if you're doing these things, then it's a good possibility that you are a caregiver.
And some of the comments, Keisha, are that they are in fact doing all of them. Yeah. And I know in my case, it was all of that and more.
Yeah. Totally, especially when you're working full time. Like I mentioned, for myself, I was working full time, trying to take care of my mother, trying to get all of her medical appointments transferred from Philadelphia, making sure financially things were taken care of, taking care of my dog. And so it is a lot, and it does cause us to do a lot of juggling. Caring may be one of the most important roles you will take on in your life. AARP's founder, Dr. Ethel Percy Andrus, was a caregiver to her parents. In fact, she left her job to care for her mother. She said, "It's only in the giving of oneself to others that we truly live. The human contribution is the essential ingredient." Dr. Andrus was an educator, and her passion was to help older Americans lead lives of independence, dignity, and purpose. She founded the National Retired Teachers Association, NRTA, in 1947, and later AARP in 1958. Caregiving is in AARP's DNA. AARP supports family caregivers and their loved ones, both directly through programs and online resources, and more indirectly through state and federal advocacy. So tonight we're going to share practical information to help you care for your loved one while also best caring for yourself. And I can't emphasize that enough, the part about best caring for yourself. We'll break this down into 5 steps. Start the conversation, form your team, make a plan, find support, and care for yourself. First, start the conversation. Often families avoid discussions about the future simply because they don't want to talk about changes in the lives of the people they love most. Many people wait until a crisis occurs before they talk about it. Talk about their values, their preferences, their wishes for healthcare, or details about their finances. It's never easy to bring up what you think will be an uncomfortable topic. However, a lot of uncertainty can be avoided if you talk with your loved one before a crisis occurs. It's easy to put off these conversations because they can be difficult. Plus, we're busy. But you may be surprised to find out that your loved one has often been meaning to have this discussion too. Before you start the conversation, here are some things to consider. Look for an opening. When raising the topic of future care, you might find it helpful to reference an article you just read or something you saw on the news to break the ice. For example, "I'm starting to think about estate planning. Do you have any advice? I just read an article about gathering all your important papers. Sometime can you show me where yours are and what you like us to do just in case?" Try not to anticipate what your loved one might say or how they will react. Just get the conversation started. Be open, express your love and concern, and most importantly, listen. Keep in mind that the conversation will likely take place over time. We also have to make sure we respect our loved one's wishes. Make sure our loved one is participating in the conversation as much as possible. It's important to center your caregiving plan on the wishes of the person receiving the care. Like, where do they want to live? Or how do they want to handle their finances? After that, you can size up the situation. Once you get the conversation going, evaluate what you're hearing. Understanding your loved one's priorities, like where they want to live and the nature of their care, will help determine the next steps. Money can be a particularly sensitive subject to talk about, but it is often at the heart of many decisions you'll make for your loved one or with your loved one. You need to consider how often you're going to pay for housing, healthcare, and other expenses like groceries, medication, transportation. Ask your loved one to review their bank accounts, investments, insurance coverage, and other relevant finances, assets or income that can be used to cover these costs. Find out whether they have long-term care insurance should they need it. To help you with these tasks, AARP has created the AARP Caregiving Financial Workbook, a practical guide focused on health, housing, and money management for family caregivers. Each set of worksheet is designed for caregivers to capture the essential information they need to manage the complex responsibilities of caregiving. There's also a workbook available specific to veterans and military family caregivers. And I can personally say I have read that workbook and it is priceless. Counter resistance. You may find that your loved one's initial response to your attempt to start a conversation is something like, I just don't want to talk about it. Or they might even say, just leave me alone. Keep in mind that some people are private by nature. Sometimes it's difficult for someone to admit they need help, and as a result, you may encounter some resistance. If your first conversation doesn't go well, try again. If you're still running into difficulty, try asking a trusted family, a friend, a family member, a friend, a doctor, or maybe a faith leader to share your concerns. How would you approach a loved one who just doesn't want to talk about it? Does anyone have any tips for starting these type of conversations? If so, you can put them in the chat box.
Keisha, we have one comment from one of our guests that says, when my mom mentions what has happened to her friends, I ask her what her plan is. It's been helpful for her to see what has happened to her friends and what she does not want to happen to her. She's still resistant to moving, but she has started to declutter. That's a plus, and that's a good place to start. I found that sometimes watching movies about individuals who were dealing with a variety of disabilities and how the actors and the characters in the movies handled those situations. I can't think of the actress's name. I know the movie title had the word Alice in it, but I'm
Still Alice.
Say it again, Keisha.
Still Alice, the movie?
Still Alice, that's it. Was one that was particularly moving as well. I think the upside wasn't about family caregivers. It was someone that a paid caregiver came in to help this individual, but sometimes that can be helpful, just watching how other situations are portrayed. And news stories sometimes help, but there's something on the news that's current.
There's so many topics out there now in the news because things are constantly happening, whether it's in the nursing homes, assisted living, and hospitals. But this may be an opportunity too, if you don't have a particular movie or there's no particular article, I hate to say it, but you might want to make up a scenario and say somebody else is going through this particular situation. You want to be able to, open up that conversation the best way you can. Any others?
That's all I have.
Okay, all right. Step 2 then, let's move on to forming the team. Caring for a family member or a friend can be too big of a job for one person. Trying to do everything yourself may lead to burnout and problems with your own health and well-being, and I know that firsthand. It's important to form a larger network of family and friends and tap into community resources to share the load. Your loved one can help you identify willing team members, such as neighbors or friends from the faith community that you may not have thought of otherwise. Look for team members who, for one, live nearby. Proximity has its advantages, such as stopping over to see your loved one, driving him or her to a doctor's appointments, or cooking or bringing their meals. Just because someone doesn't live nearby or have huge blocks of free time doesn't mean they can't pitch in. Family or friends living at a distance can help with tasks such as coordinating meals, paying bills, or providing financial assistance. You can look for team members who can help with simple tasks. Don't be hesitant to ask others for help. Some people may need a little encouragement to take on a task and are glad when you ask for help. You can ask others to share their talents. Leverage the talents and strengths of your team. For example, the computer whiz in the family could set up an online calendar for coordinating meals or chores. And someone loves to garden. They may be able to rake leaves, or as we approach the winter, they can shovel the snow, or they might be willing to help out with your loved one's yard in various other ways. Your loved one can help identify team members such as neighbors or friends from their faith community that you may not have considered. Here are some more considerations about building and supporting your team. Determine the number of team members. Both quantity and quality are important to think about when building your team. While having a large caregiving team can be helpful, too many people might be hard to manage. Make sure everyone on the team is clear about their responsibilities. They should be supportive and willing to lend a hand to you and your loved one. Assign roles and responsibilities. Everyone has something to contribute. Play to each other's personal strengths and be clear on what's needed and expected. Then focus on the care recipient. This could be overlooked. The key, this can often be overlooked. The participant in the conversation is the person who may need the care. So it's so important to make sure that the participant that we're caring for is included in those conversations. And this is barring mental or physical incapacity or other extraordinary circumstances. The person receiving the care should play a significant role in determining who would be on the team and what needs to be done. Does anyone have any tips they would like to share on forming their caregiver team? If so, please place them in the chat.
While we're waiting for responses, I think the important thing to stress is you almost have to be, I'll say assertive, not aggressive, assertive in asking for help. And sometimes it's asking for a specific thing that you need help with. And I found that my neighbors were great. Can you come and spend just 20 minutes with Nick while I run to the grocery store? But a specific request usually results in a specific action coming back. Someone has said getting my siblings involved, dividing up responsibilities. Those are all good things, but don't be like I was. Don't be reluctant to ask.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. Sometimes we just don't say anything. We keep it all to ourselves because for various different reasons. It could be because we've asked, we've been turned down. People are saying they're busy, they're tired. We don't want to feel like we're burdening anyone. We have all of these different things, but the best thing to do is ask and see what the person says. And often the person will say, I didn't know if you just had said something. So let's call them out on that and see if we can hold them accountable. Remember to support the team though, show your appreciation. This could be anything from a thank you note or email to a quick phone call. Do ask for help when it's needed, as we were just talking about. That is why we have a team. Ask those who live far away to regularly connect with your loved one by giving them a call, sending a card, emailing, texting, and different things like that. And I find in my family that is so, so helpful. The third step is make a plan. Now that you have a team formed with willing caregivers, it's time to start building out a plan and designated responsibilities. Always make sure your plans are being made with the person you're caring for at the center of the discussion. The plan doesn't have to be an extensive or fancy. You can never anticipate every detail or scenario. The plan should include immediate needs as well as plans for the future. Keep in mind that the options for addressing needs will depend on finances, the willingness of the support team, and the resources available in your community. A family or team meeting is one way to help you get things organized, ensure all of your team members are on the same page when it comes to making and keeping to the plan. First, meet with your caregiving team. This can take place face-to-face or through a conference or like Zoom, through a chat, or through emails. To determine what works best for all of you, set up a system for future communications with your team. Next, assess the goals and the needs of your caregiving plan. Remember, this doesn't have to be extensive or fancy, as you can't anticipate every detail or scenario. Just try to include immediate needs and broader plans for the future. After you determine your goals, delegate responsibilities. It's time to figure out who will do what. Make sure you determine what task everyone is comfortable performing. Also, be sure to ask your team members about their preferences. Be open to modifications as the situation and the team members' ability to help may change. And how your loved one needs unfold may differ from what you anticipated or expected. Here are some helpful tips to remember during your team meeting. The team member who will receive the care should play a significant role in talking about and assigning roles as the task to the extent possible. For example, even if one child is an accountant and an older parent may feel more comfortable having another child look after their financial affairs. It's so important to communicate. Try to keep everyone informed as things change. Make sure that everyone knows about the discussion ahead of time so there are no surprises or hurt feelings. One team member should take notes and write a brief summary of what was decided. A written summary of the plan helps ensure that the wishes and the needs of the loved one has been considered and included. Does anyone have any tips to share about making a plan? If so, please place them in the chat box so that we can share them with each other.
I was not good at making a plan.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
a lot of things that happened just they happened as they happened and as we needed to make adjustments, but a plan is definitely something that probably would have helped in a number of circumstances.
Yeah, and that's why it's so good to have like the prepare to care, to try to prepare those things ahead of time, because when you're at the heart of caregiving, it is very difficult to be able to make a plan. But one of the things I did, it was wasn't an initial plan, but after caring for my mom, I wound up getting a notebook, and writing down her medications, when she was supposed to take them, the time she was supposed to take them, her favorite television shows that she want to watch, what time they were going to come on, the snacks that she liked. And so when I wasn't there, if it was someone else that was there, they were able to kind of fill in and keep her on a somewhat normal schedule as much as possible. So if it's a plan of when her doctor's appointments are going to be, if it's an in-home hospice, when the volunteer is going to be there, is so many different things that we can do, but it is very helpful if you have the opportunity to make a plan and to be able to share that plan with others, in particular on your care team. Step 4, find support. If you come to realize that the scope of care needed for your loved one is beyond what you or your team can provide, it's okay to reach out for extra support. There are many types of community resources that may be able to provide support. The local area agency on aging can help connect you to a variety of support services, such as home delivered meals, transportation, adult daycare, care management, and more. Your local area agency on aging can also answer questions about which resources are free and which may have a cost. And I always like to interject about the local area agency on aging. I had a friend, when her mother was diagnosed with early stages of dementia, it was mentioned to her about signing her mother up to be for the different programs that the local area agency on aging had. And she did not, because she felt that she was financially able to take care of the situation. She waited, I think it was 3 years later, and she was number like 23,000 on the list. It took her another 8 years to get to the top of the list to get that support for her mother. And by that time, she had depleted most of her financial resources. So it's really, really good to find out about those local resources like the local area agency on aging. You can also check in services offered in your community through the Elder Care Locator. The Elder Care Locator is a public service of the U.S. Aging Administration. It connects caregivers to local services and supports. You can go to https://eldercare.acl.gov. These resources are in your Prepare to Care guide. In addition to your Elder Care Locator and your local area agency on aging, you can also consult with a professional. Oftentimes, your loved one needs care. Needs can be complex, especially when health, emotional, and financial issues are at play. A trained social worker or nurse can help you sort things out, determine what is needed. They can also help you find services and arrange care. Again, the Elder Care Locator is a great resource to find such professionals as these. I encourage you to highlight this resource in your book. Don't forget to ask your employer also if they offer an employee assistance program. This also can connect you to professionals and other services in your community. Teams often need outside support. Here are ideas about some of the most common needs. You can hire help. And if you see that your loved one needs help with daily activities, try exploring home care options. Some home care workers do household tasks such as cleaning and meal preparation, while others do more personal care tasks such as bathing and dressing. Again, your local area agency on aging can help you identify and connect you with the appropriate services. You can also go online and visit AARP's Caregiving Resource Center. That's aarp.org/caregiving for more information. You can also secure their safety. To help your loved one be safe and comfortable in their homes, try incorporating handrails, grab bars, night lights, or adjustable shower seats. Some things, such as installing grab bars, may be best left for professionals. You can also check out AARP's Home Fit Guide at aarp.org/homefit for a whole range of solutions. The guide provides tips, suggestions, worksheets, and resources to make a home a lifelong home. You can also explore housing options. A variety of housing with supportive services may be available in your community. Begin by making a list of criteria such as location, group dining, laundry services, and more. Once you determine the criteria you need, visit several facilities and be sure to talk to residents and their families. There's also support groups. Support groups can also be helpful in navigating available resources. AARP has a Facebook group for caregivers. You will see a link to it in the chat, as well as online message boards on aarp.org. Does anyone have any tips about finding resources that they would like to share with everyone? Please place them in the chat box.
Keisha, while we're waiting for our guests to respond, one of the things that I wasn't aware of until towards the end of my caregiving term, I guess is how I want to phrase it. People kept telling me I should call the local hospice organization. And I thought, my husband had multiple sclerosis. It's not an end of life situation. We don't need hospice. And I wish I had done that the first time someone mentioned it to me, because the staff at the local area hospice here in Virginia was fantastic and provided me with so many resources that I didn't know existed and were just so helpful. So don't overlook things because you may not have the correct interpretation of what that organization does. And someone has said sometimes there's information in church bulletins that can help. The local area on aging, they both offer regular support and support groups.
Yeah, Facebook is another way, you know, different social medias, there's different groups that provide information. But like you said, when it came to that hospice, that was one of the things I had to get out of my mind, what I was thinking about hospice and my mother. And once I welcomed the assistants for hospice, they took so much pressure off of me, including the volunteers and the chaplain and the doctor was coming to the house and the equipment they brought to the house and the nurses and the occupational therapists and the physical therapists, they were all coming. And it was just like a well-oiled machine. And I was so grateful to be able to connect with them. So I totally agree with that.
Absolutely.
And
the associations like the Alzheimer's Association, the Multiple Sclerosis, Parkinson's associations connected with all different types of cancers and heart-related activities. They all have a wealth of services that you just have to reach out. You have to look for them.
Yeah, and I agree with the church. My church was extremely supportive, and there's groups within our church. There's a caregiver group within our church. There's different people that volunteered to come to sit. And there was a lot of support for me as well. So just as we do that, as we find this support, it's important to talk to other caregivers. And I think sometimes we kind of forget about that when we're in that situation, or as we talked about, we can visit a senior center or ask about resources in our area and use the internet to explore options, read reviews, and connect with other caregivers is so important. The fifth step is so crucial. Care for yourself. And I will preface this. I know this is so much easier said than done, but it's so important to care for ourselves. Don't overlook the impact of caring for yourself. Pay attention to your health and your well-being. The best way to ensure you have the energy to care for a loved one is to take care of yourself. Here are some tips for caring for yourself. Tap into resources such as social workers, nurses, and other professionals, as we were saying. They can guide you through care options and help you monitor the care, especially if you don't live nearby. You could use technology. There's personal emergency response systems. There's remote monitoring devices and mobile apps, which can help you coordinate your care. Also ask, for those that are working, ask your employer. Some employers offer benefits or services to support family caregivers. And then review your finances. It's important to calculate your caregiving related expenses and account for them in your personal budget. Some additional tips for caring for yourself: talk to your doctor. Let them know that you are a caregiver and discuss ways to manage stress. Be an advocate for yourself. The Caregiver Advise, Record, Enable, and Care Act has been passed in many states, and this is very, very helpful. This is something that AARP has done. And you could consult with your loved one's doctor for training if you are expected to do medical tasks at home. Take advantage of caregiving services and support. Services and support groups can help you throughout your caregiving journey. It's also important that you take a break, and this break could literally be just putting on headsets or going outside or just closing your eyes or asking someone if they can sit for a few minutes to allow you to have that time. So make time for exercise if you can, sleep, healthy eating, and staying connected with friends. Does anyone have any suggestions for taking care of yourself? If so, please place them in the chat box so that we can share them with each other.
I've discovered, over the past 2 years of being, cloistered at home again with the pandemic, I wish I knew more about the computer and to be able to utilize some of the virtual programs that are widely available now. Even something as simple as a meditation class or something of that nature. But now it is important that you find some quiet time on your own, that you rest when you're the individual you're taking care of is resting, and recharge those batteries. And someone has suggested walks outside, puzzles, reading, do things that you enjoy when you can.
Yeah, those are all helpful. If definitely if it's just sitting down, if you have to scribble, I've told a lot of people, you got to get it out because we hold so much in a lot of times when we're caregiving. And I said, if you feel like you can't do anything, just get a piece of paper and just literally just scribble, just a crayon or whatever it is, a pen, and just scribble to get it out. And again, definitely if you have music, if you love music, if you can sneak in time or get in time to be able to watch a movie or something like that, or even something on YouTube now, something that may be a little bit shorter, write a poem. There's just a lot of different things that we're trying to do to really be able to help us as caregivers to take care of ourselves.
Exactly. Keisha, let me interrupt just for a quick second. I see one of our guests has their hand raised and we are in webinar mode. So we can't acknowledge a raised hand. But if it's possible for that individual to put their question or their comment in the chat box, I will do everything I can to address it myself or ask Keisha to address it for you. But I can't accommodate the raised hand in a webinar mode. Thanks, Keisha.
Okay, sure, no problem. So as we're waiting for that, there's some things we could do if possible. And again, we know this could be very, very difficult to take a night off if there is someone that a sibling or a spouse or a child or a neighbor or someone from your church that can assist to allow you to take a night off. Meet up with your friends if you can. And I know sometimes even if you get a night off, you're too tired to meet up with friends, you just want to lay down and go to sleep and rest. And so that's totally understandable. Take time for yourself, even if it's a short walk, like it was said. Curl up with a great book, even if the book starts reading you because you've fallen asleep. If you can, get a manicure, get a pedicure, get a massage, whatever you can do, just try to take time for yourself. Did you get anything, Trudy?
No.
Okay. So in terms of resources, AARP offers a variety of online information, resources, in-person events, and self-paced learning for family caregivers. I want to make sure that I mention several resources such as AARP's Caregiving Resources Center. This is a central hub for all things caregiving at AARP. There you could read the latest articles, you can get tips, and you can get advice. And I have been an advocate of reading it, learning a lot of things, even after caring for my mother, that I've been able to share with others. I find myself emailing people all the time a list of resources that I'm getting from AARP, and people are saying, just really appreciative of those things, because when you're caregiving, a lot of times you don't have time to do those particular things. That's where you'll also be able to find, the Prepare to Care guide with downloadable checklists for when you need to update or revise your caregiving plan. In addition, there is a toll-free resource line. You can call 1-877-333-5885. Or in Spanish, you can dial 1-888-971-2013. Again, that's for Spanish. The hotline is open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and Saturday, 9 a.m. through 5 p.m. Eastern Time. The telephone number is also on the back of your Prepare to Care guide. There's also Community Resource Finder. This is where you can get easy access to resources, community programs, and services through the online Community Resource Directory. The directory is compiled from provider descriptions and public data, and made possible by the Alzheimer's Association and AARP. You can also go to learn.aarp.org, and you can visit this site to learn about upcoming events and to explore interactive educational videos and webinars on caregiving. Again, that is learn, learn.aarp.org. I would also like to remind you that your Prepare to Care guide has a variety of resources, including your local area agency on aging and the elder care locator in the back of the booklet. Well, this concludes the presentation. I hope you have enjoyed the night's presentation, and we did cover a lot. Starting with learning 5 steps to create a caregiving plan, which are: start a conversation, form your team, make a plan, find support, and care for yourself. We also shared many ideas about resources available to you. To continue your learning on this topic, make sure you check out AARP's caregiving resources and the Prepare to Care guide. And we hope you stay connected with AARP. Before I turn it back over to Trudy, this is something that I have written, and I shared it once before, and I just want to read it. This is a poem that I wrote for caregivers, and I titled it, "You're a Caregiver." And the poem is, I want you to know I see you getting tired. I want you to know I can feel your weight. I want you to know I can hear you thinking, how much more can I take? Hold on, be strong, don't quit, don't give up, don't give in. Even when decisions you make break your heart, remember you're a caregiver. Remember you're a caregiver. There are arms open to hug your fears. There's a breeze stirring to dry your tears. There's a rainbow coming to brighten your world. There are oceans calming to give you a pearl. There are raindrops falling to water your bloom. There are waves parting to give you some room. There are trees bending that owe you shade. There's time waiting for the sacrifices you made. Remember, you're a caregiver. Remember, you're a caregiver. Thank you.
That's beautiful, Keisha.
Thank you.
Keisha, I've got one question. I've got some other messages coming through, but I want to make sure I get this question in.
Okay.
Do you have any suggestions or recommendations for a tracking app or a tracking device that would work for both iPhones and Androids? This individual's parents are still somewhat mobile, but getting a little more forgetful and accident prone. And my brother and I would like to know where they are with their knowledge. Do you have a suggestion to that end?
Those things where they escape you. I was looking at a website the other day. It was caregiving.com. And there was a list of different caregiving type inventions that different caregivers they had put out, and one was a tracking app. I don't have it. I could provide that information to Trudy, or we can be able to provide it later if it's all possible. But I would always just suggest in the interim, always just search on the internet and see if there's some tracking apps. But I also would ask people to always be cautious when you're searching different things, because there's a lot of, I hate to say it, different scammers and different things out there where people are trying to get your information. But I would definitely check for caregiver apps. And I know, I'm so sorry, I just cannot think of the name of it right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I suggested to my sister that she use Find My Phone on her husband's device, because he would go places and forget where he was and couldn't find his way back. So that might be one possibility. I know that works on iPhones. I don't know if the similar app is available for Androids, but maybe even contacting the cell phone provider.
Yeah.
You know, go to AT&T or Verizon. I'm trying to think all the different companies that provide cell phone service, and ask them if there's a tracking app for those devices. Might be as simple as just going to the provider of the service.
Yeah. And again, the local area agency on aging, there are a good resource to be able to help you, not with just the meal preparations and different things like that. They may have a list of apps and other things that you can reach out to them as well. And there may be something on AARP website.
One never knows. We're going to go look. And most of the other things that I thought might be questions are really compliments to you, Keisha.
Oh, thank you.
But I do like this one comment, and it was kind of true of my years as a caregiver. And now I can't get back to it. Hold on. Let's do it this way. Sometimes not knowing what you don't know is overwhelming.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is so true. That is so true. I've
Exactly.
described caregiving as falling into a sinkhole, and you get out all dirty and you just have to kind of find your way out. But even for that, yeah, it's scaring. But just know that there are us that are out there that either are, have been, will be, or will need, that we are supporting each other. We really are a community of just like the military, we're a team, and we really do support each other. So we do uplift you and we support you.
Very good. On behalf of AARP, I'd like to thank you all for joining us tonight and express our gratitude to Keisha for sharing her time and her expertise with us as well. And now we'd love to get your feedback on our program. So in the chat box, you'll see a link to a survey. If you could take a moment to click on the link and share your feedback with us. We will also include this link in the follow-up email. We also invite you to join us for many of our additional programs. You can find a full list of our upcoming events at www.aarp.org/virtual-VA. Until next time, take good care of yourselves and those you love and care for. And AARP will continue to help seniors live independently and help the family caregivers who make it possible for them to stay in their homes. Thanks for joining us tonight. Have a great evening. Stay safe and take care of yourself. We'll see you next time.